Thank you, dear viewers, for joining us in this edition of the news on Equinoxe Television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. I am Bartlett Jonathan. Our top stories in this edition of the news: victims of the Arab Shua and Muslim inter-community conflicts in the far north region of the Republic of Cameroon are lamenting over precarious living conditions. Over 200 of them are sending distress calls to the Yaoundé administration over threats of forceful eviction from the area they have been occupying since they were forced out of their homes by violence. The fight against secessionists continues in the far northwest and southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon. In the meantime, civil society leaders continue condemning the use of force, the killing of secessionists, and the display of their mortal remains in public. Recently, some of them were killed, and in the most recent of these killings, one of the leading secessionist fighters was gunned down in Kumba 2 subdivision, the mid-division southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon, and his body displayed in public. We shall also talk about the Ukrainian crisis, which is worsening. Details coming up next. We begin this newscast with victims of the Arab Shua and Muslim communities in the far north region of the Republic of Cameroon, victims of the inter-community conflicts between those two ethnic groups in the far north region of the country, lamenting and decrying the poor conditions in which they are living today, and they are sending distress calls to the Yaoundé administration over threats of forceful eviction from the area they have been occupying ever since they were forced out of their homes by violence. Immaculate Foucault has more.
Au quartier d'Ougoy à Marois 3e, des dizaines de femmes et enfants rassemblés sous un hangar de fortune.
Sorry for the poor quality of that report. We shall be coming back to the details on the situation of victims of the Arab Shua and Muslim communities, inter-community conflicts between those two communities in the far north region of Cameroon. Now to Kumba in the Meme Division, southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon, where another leading secessionist fighter has been gunned down by security and defense forces in that part of the country within the context of the 5-year-long armed conflict sweeping across the two English-speaking regions of the country, and the mortal remains of this other separatist fighter known as General Mumbasa of Kosala Kumba 2 subdivision was displayed in the public, displayed on the streets of the town of Kumba today, and we could see several persons, city dwellers, who converge on the area to view the mortal remains of the fallen separatist fighter. In the meantime, civil society leaders and human rights defenders have been condemning the continuous use of force by the military in the two English-speaking regions of the country in efforts to restore peace and normalcy in the crisis-stricken regions, and the display of the mortal remains of killed separatist fighters is considered as an element that rather reveals the weakness of the country's military, according to some political analysts and civil society leaders who think that this should not have been done, notably taking into consideration the fact that life is sacrosanct and should be protected, should not be messed up with in this way. And of course, the senior divisional officer of the Meme Division, Tundong Chamberlain, as well as other administrative officials, have been speaking whenever these incidents occurred, whenever separatist leaders are killed and presented in public, that encouraging the actions of the military and indicating that the population are happy about the fact that the separatist leaders are killed, and hoping that peace and normalcy will return. Now let's take a listen to the divisional officer of Kumba 2 subdivision who was there.
Amba General Mombasa lying here has been a thorn in the flesh of the population of Kumba 2 subdivision. He has killed so many innocent souls. He has extorted a lot of money from the poor population of the subdivision, and he has frustrated so many lives. His atrocities had already reached his apogee, and the military have continued to do their work, and today he has fallen. Meanwhile, the head of state have been calling on these guys who are in the bushes to come out, because there is no future in the nonsense they are doing in the bushes. And I think the population is very, very happy, especially some of his victims are very, very happy that at last Mombasa is gone.
That was Edwin Kenya Ngwana, this divisional officer for Kumba 2 subdivision, speaking there, and he warned that anyone who failed to come out of the bush will suffer the same fate, referring to the civilians who are carrying guns in the bushes and fighting within the context of the armed conflict going on in the northwest and southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon. We shall be analyzing this in the second part of this newscast. Now to Makia neighborhood here in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. Several persons have been rendered homeless by a fire incident, and the fire broke out earlier today, this afternoon, and of course several homes consumed by the wild flames, and the occupants of the homes have now been rendered homeless by that fire incident. It is recurrent in the town of Douala, fire incidents like this one in markets, in neighborhoods, in the private homes, and of course other areas of the town, and even in leisure sites, including snack bars, beer parlors, nightclubs. These incidents have been occurring close intervals of time, leaving enormous material damage, and in some cases casualties as well. No casualty has been recorded in this fire incident which occurred earlier this afternoon in the Makia neighborhood here in Douala, but enormous material damage has been recorded and several persons rendered homeless. Now to Limbe, in the southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon. The people of Limbe are expecting that the new city mayor, who will be taking over from late Mutanga Andrew Munjimba, will maintain the same pace of development that he engaged in the town of Limbe, in order to keep the town as clean as it has been, and also to ensure the development of the town and the well-being of the people. These they were speaking to Derek Chato as the city prepares to lay to rest the late state servant. Details in this report.
It's down clean. We don't transform Limbe at least to an extent, and you know what?
It is all about him and what he did when he was here.
Emma don't can Limbe will testify to Limbe and one of the cleanest town inside the country. Right now, as a man, we can after he may do more than he, so Limbe will be a better place.
Andrew Mutanga Munjimba has left Limbe and the Limbe City Council, where he was the city mayor, to the world beyond.
It is certain. Take it or leave it. He is leaving a gap that will be difficult to fill. May the soul of Amutanga rest in peace.
The people here say this former landlord of the city left in them his memories.
With the spirit that was left in Fatou one day and Fatou in general, we shall continue the action.
The Cameroon People's Democratic Movement, the CBDM, was his base, where he was the section president for Fakou 1A, and at the party secretariat at Downbeach Limbe. The comrades have all converged to light candles in honor of their late president. And the senior divisional officer for Fakou Division was represented by the divisional officer for Limbe 1.
So we have come to give our necessary petals to the militants and to condole with them.
To all gathered here, a space has been created, and the time is now to start filling such a space.
It's very, very big space. It is strategic space. To us, the militants of Fakou 1A, the passing away of our president signifies pain, sorrow, and sadness.
Eko Kamoto, as he was titled, who many say came, worked and transformed Limbe, will be given a state burial this Saturday.
Now, in foreign news, militants of the former ruling party in Burkina Faso have demanded that the military junta who led the coup d'etat during which the president of that country, Roch-Marc Christian Kabore, was arrested, to release him without delay. And in Guinea-Bissau, the former Prime Minister Domingo Simon, former Prime Minister of that country, has been barred from leaving the country by the country's public prosecutor over embezzlement allegations. And elsewhere, Russia has landed attacks on Ukraine that vows to defend itself against Russia. And of course, the situation over there has been worsening and raising concerns across the globe. Innocent as it has the details.
Russian forces have begun attacking Ukraine with reports of troops crossing the border to the north and south. Explosions have been carried out in multiple cities, including the capital, Kyiv, as well as the city of Odessa, and warnings from Russian presidency of bloodshed unless Ukrainian forces lay down their arms. This offensive has been termed by Russia a special military operation for self-defense. Russia remains firm. It has no intention to occupy Ukraine and to impose itself, but to protect the people in the Donbas region of eastern Ukraine, which contains some separatist-held regions. Meantime, the first blasts were heard at around 5 a.m. on Thursday, prompting immediate condemnation from the United States and its allies, which have threatened to enact full-scale sanctions to respond to Russian military aggression. Russia has promised to deal squarely with any nation that intervenes in its affairs with Ukraine. The Ukrainian government, in a statement, demands peace but vows to defend itself against Russia in case there is any bloodshed. But Russia demands Ukrainian forces to drop down their arms. If not, the Ukrainian government will have itself to be blamed in case of bloodshed. Ukraine Foreign Minister tweeted that peaceful Ukrainian cities are under strike and called the situation a war of aggression. Another official says Russia's invasion has begun with missile strikes on Kyiv. General Staff of the Ukrainian Army said 5 Russian aircrafts and a helicopter were shot down early Thursday, claims denied by Russia. In Burkina Faso, the party of the overthrown president, Roch-Marc Christian Kabore, has demanded the junta that took part to release him without delay or conditions 1 month after his arrest in the capital Ouagadougou. In a statement on Wednesday, his party militants expressed worry and questioned why the junta detains him in harsh conditions. They also reminded the junta to stick to the commitment of ensuring that the fundamental rights of all citizens are respected. In Guinea-Bissau, former Prime Minister Domingos Pereira has been barred from leaving the country due to a judicial review in an investigation into an attempted coup in 2021. This decision was issued in a statement by the country's public prosecutor on Wednesday. Unless on authorization, Pereira is officially accused, while he was Prime Minister, of having allowed the disbursement of $5 million to Guinea-Bissau businessmen to pay debts owed to local banks. He is accused of not consulting the National Assembly before granting the disbursement.
Now we wrap up the first part of this newscast with this advertorial on an outstanding initiative Get Start closing the gap between training and employment exigencies in the Republic of Cameroon. It is an initiative that comes to solve the unemployment equation that is a major problem, especially among young people in the country. The Strides is an online learning platform which is coming with a lot of potentials to catalyze the employability of Cameroonians and all other persons who pick up courses on that program. Details in this report. Right, we will be coming to that report in a short while. Time for us to talk about the situation in the southwest region of the country, with latest information streaming in to our newsroom indicating that some persons are expressing concerns about the display. Some inhabitants are expressing concerns and fears of the unknown after the display of the mortal remains of an army or a general, a so-called general of the secessionist movement in the southwest and northwest region of the country. General Mombasa, of course, Salah, in the Kumba 2 subdivision, his mortal remains displayed in the town of Kumba today left many persons, especially onlookers who came to see what was happening, in some kind of uncertainty and fear about a possible fight back from the camp of the separatists after the killing of that leading separatist fighter in that part of the country. And of course, the body of General Mombasa was displayed in the town of Kumba with the authorities, notably the divisional officer of Kumba 2 subdivision, indicating that many are not only worried, they are not only worried, but there are others who are happy about the fact that the leading separatist fighters been killed, especially the victims of the secessionist war going on in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. However, this has been highly condemned by civil society leaders and human rights defenders, who are saying that this use of military force is rather worsening the situation. Now we come to this advertorial on an outstanding initiative by some Cameroonians who are fighting to close the gap between training and employment exigencies, and also to solve the unemployment equation that is a major problem, especially among young people in Cameroon today. The Strides is a wonderful platform, is a wonderful opportunity where you can pick up courses, and immediately after your training that will last for over 2 months to over a year, close to a year, you pick up jobs. Jobs are readily available according to those behind that initiative, as we hear in this report.
The Stride is a professional online study program aimed at empowering aspiring Cameroonians with skills from practical courses which take them directly into the job market. The studies, done exclusively online with internet connection provided to registered students by the Strides across a wide range of courses from accountancy to technology or digital transformation. Richard Ita Ayuk is the Chief Executive Officer of the Strides. He is a chartered accountant with over 20 years of working experience with multinational companies.
We are
online training. You go online, you study alone, then you now study with other people around the globe. So you are in a classroom with students from Australia, from Britain, from France, from America, and you are in the same class and you do the studies together.
Considering how the entire world is evolving with technology, the founders of the Strides thought it wise to enable Cameroonians to move with the current trend of technological evolution. With the Strides, you study from wherever you are in the world. All you need is your computer and an average educational background. The lectures are dispatched by Simply Learn, a world-class technological giant based in the United States, and another giant, Divier, in South Africa.
Simply Learn, who is the #1 in the world, has signed an exclusive partnership with Divier to provide that tuition, the programs in Cameroon.
Registered students are provided with a learner guide or mentor who follows up the study process, from lectures to exams and subsequently internship and employment.
Once you finish those studies, you give you a learner support or a learner resource manager who takes you through your project and your labs, where you do laboratory work with live jobs, so that, and all of that will go into your CV at the time you have gained your certification, so that you are now properly marketable.
The study duration with the Strides ranges from 2 months to 2 years, and fees from 200,000 to 750,000 francs yearly. Clara Ngando Atam is the founder of The Strides. She is a certified chartered accountant and holds an MBA from Coventry University in the United Kingdom.
Since I qualified as a chartered accountant in the year 2008, it has been my mission to provide a platform where aspiring professionals can access resources and tools that will enable them pass their professional examinations and enhance their leadership skills.
Based in the United States, Richard is in Cameroon to create awareness on advantages of taking courses with The Strides. Every Cameroonian with or without a bachelor's degree is advised to get in contact with The Strides to be trained and pick up a job, as well as corporate bodies that wish to upgrade the skills of the workforce. The Strides also has as partner the Biaka University Institute of Boya to facilitate the onboarding of students. The online study program.
The partnership between Biaka University Institute of Boya and the Strides will transform the world, and Cameroon in particular.
The Strides has offices in Douala and Boya. Get more information on how to be part of The Strides on the website www.thestrides.org. Join The Strides now and get a job immediately after your studies. Just like the slogan goes, helping people thrive.
That's it for the first part of this newscast. Talking Point is up next. Digum Emmanuel, civil society activist and teacher, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Babila Jonathan. It's a pleasure to be here. And I must say Happy New Year, because since this year began, we have not met. Of course, it's a pleasure. I know many people have been asking why we have not been active, but you know, this year started on a very serious note with a lot of activities. So it's a pleasure, and I really struggled today to be here. It's not been easy.
Right, let's begin with this recent happening in the context of the 5-year-long armed conflict in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. Another separatist fighter killed and displayed in the town of Kumba in the Meme Division southwest region of Cameroon. What do you think about these actions undertaken by the military, killing separatists, so-called generals, and then displaying their cups in public?
To start with, I want to think that anybody will bear witness with me that they say life is sacred, but in the context of Cameroon, life is no longer sacred. And of course, it is not also disputable that the regular army is out to protect the territorial integrity of the country. But then, But then you discover that, like you said, the so-called Amazonian general. Then you discover that it is sad, it is shocking, because we were made to understand that our military was professional. I want to be challenged tonight if somebody should tell me if in a military school they are taught that when you kill a so-called general in court, you display it in public. Because to me, I don't find anything really tangible in that. It tells us again that we are still very far behind as far as containing this crisis is concerned. How do you explain the fact that somebody who has been trained in peacekeeping, somebody who has been trained in war tactics, kills somebody who has never been trained, and then brings out the corpse, gallivant the whole street with the corpse as if it was a trophy? I have not even seen the World Cup trophy being gallivanted the streets with it the way they do with the so-called general. That gives us the impression that this war is tough, contrary to what the government had maintained, that everything was under control. It means that when these military men succeed to get a general, it is to them like a victory, because the generals themselves have not been that very easy for the military people to get them. So you see that we still have a long way to go. We have a long way to go.
And the question some observers are asking, but what is the reason demonstrating the corpse or presenting the corpse of a separatist fighter to the population on the street in that manner?
Well, since you and I are not in their mind and we can only analyze what we are seeing from a distance, we can only draw half a complete conclusion that they are happy that somebody who had given them nightmare for a long time has been caught. We could also look at it from the point at which they are trying to satisfy somebody somewhere, because somebody somewhere certainly wants some of the generals out, but somebody somewhere doesn't want the war to go to an end or to come to an end. Because if somebody somewhere actually needed that the war should come to an end, Babylon, it will come to an end. Not even without the killing and dragging of the general corpses on the roadside. And also remember that one thing we have learned from this government is that they are the ones who have been doing the marketing of the various Amazonian generals. Because I, for one, most of these names I don't even know them. I only get them from the government. And it is shocking that even the ministers seem to have mastered the names of all these so-called generals, which pushed me to think otherwise. Are you sure that some of these so-called generals are not even communicating with some of these ministers? Because us who are on the ground, I am telling you that I just got the name after the incident. But then, they are already giving us the names. How do they get the names? So somebody somewhere is collaborating with somebody somewhere. And when it happens to us, the military would like to pirate the street with it so that somebody should be happy that something has happened somewhere. That's my analysis.
Are you saying that the military authorities and officers, and of course the administration, because the divisional officer of Combat 2 was there in previous incidents of this nature, there was the senior divisional officer of Neme who came there expressing satisfaction and happiness and so on, and then attributing that to the population, that they're happy that the general has been killed, especially some of his victims and so on. Are you saying that these people are trying to tell the head of state that they are working, they're trying to convince
of course,
satisfy the head of state?
You are asking an answer, Babila. That is exactly what I was saying. If it had taken me a long time not to come out with that, thank you for coming out with it. They want to satisfy the head of state that they are working. And you know that in this country, when you are given a position in this country, you don't work because you want to work for your country. or you want to push your country forward. You work because you want to satisfy the head of state. That is why most of them even qualify him that he is the way, the truth, and the light. Which of course, it's terrible to believe that in a country like ours, we still have people who are not working because they want to work for fatherland, but because they want to satisfy a particular person, which is of course regrettable. I only want to think that we are supposed to change the dawn by starting to do things the real way, not to satisfy somebody who has failed in his duties to satisfy Cameroon. That is what I'm saying.
And so when you look at this kind of demonstrations, does it speak of military strength, the success of the military? Does it speak of a military that is fighting to bring down the tension, to stop the killings, to stop the war, to stop the secessionist activities and so on?
No. It instead exposes our military weakness. One aspect that I saw in those pictures, you saw the civilian population taking pictures free of charge. I hope you saw them. And there was no intervention from the police, the Jana, and the military around, of which it is not fair. It is not fair that the civilian population should go taking such pictures. You see that there's cacophony everywhere. If the military was succeeding, we wouldn't have still had the number of generals we are told that are still existing today. There are some of them that even thought that they were long gone, just to be told that they are still existing. So I think it is not showing a sign of strength. It is not showing a sign of a military succeeding. But then, if there is something, you know, they always say blood is thicker than water. If you look at this context, even if our military was that mighty, their might cannot be really proven because they are fighting against themselves. They are fighting brothers against brothers. And that might cannot really be evaluated because they are not fighting with a foreign force.
Right. No, let's look at the impact on the evolution of the crisis, the impact of the killing of General Mombasa, of Kusala, and the other generals in the separatist war. How will it affect the war? Is it going to bring some kind of positive impact in the sense of efforts to restore peace and normalcy, or is it going to radicalize many more persons?
No, we were already radicalized. They were already radicalized. Cameroon, the two regions were already radicalized. You cannot be talking at radicalization at this time. Everything there is under uncertainty. There is no normalcy there. So what we are saying, we are saying, and we shall continue to say, Yaoundé has the key and the lock. The real thing to be done is not the guns. At one point, I was even saying that for the sake of life and families, let the military choose to dialogue with the Amber Boys, because Yaoundé did not care who dies. Whether it's a military that falls, it is not the problem of Yaoundé. If it's an Amber Boy that dies, it's not the problem of Yaoundé. Okay, one more of those who died who were never Amber and were never military. We also talked about radicalization. No, because radicalization could instead come from when innocent people are being wiped like flies every day. And then you discover that those who are holding guns, we have two factions. Those who are of the regular army, of course, who have the legal and the every right to hold the guns, and those, they say they are holding guns illegally. What have prompted them to hold guns illegally? They were radicalized. So we have gone past that era of radicalization, Babylon. What we need to be looking at is what can you and I do to contribute to the dropping of the war or to stop the war? Because let me tell you today, and to be frank, Yaoundé cannot solve the crisis in Northwest and Southwest, even in the next 100 years, with this same regime in place. Diaspora.
Why?
Listen, diaspora will not bring a magic wand to Northwest and Southwest, because in diaspora we are dealing with scammers who fooled the population that it was going to be a U-turn and then independence comes. And today, kidnappings are taking precedence. Yaoundé cannot solve it because Yaoundé has never been honest enough to accept from the beginning that there was a problem. And remember that the government in Yaoundé is not at the service of the people of Cameroon. They are at the service of their stomachs, their bank accounts, and their private families, Babylon, not the whole country.
Some of the members. Are you talking of some of the members? Or
I mean that the regime in Yaoundé is not at the service of the Cameroonians. If they were at the service of the Cameroonians, then they would have put the people first. And if the people were first at the center, they will know the plight of the people. Well, and each Cameroonian that falls will matter to them.
That's what they have been telling us that they have been doing so far, working for the
nation. They have been telling you,
working for Cameroon. And now in the northwest region of the country, before this presentation of the killed separatist fighter in Kumba, 2 civilians were killed in Bamenda by a soldier. What's your analysis of this other incident? People sitting together, drinking, and then after that things just turn sour, and then the gun comes out, 2 persons are down.
Okay, I would base my analysis on a communique of the governor Adolphe Lele Lafri, who said they were tipsy. And I was tempted to ask the governor, that information that they were tipsy, that is where I have
it is alleged that they were tipsy.
It is alleged that they were tipsy. If we were to base on that, it means that all of us are finished. Because from day to day we see armed forces in their uniform, some of them even drink, and they are sleeping with their guns by their side. Let me take the case study of Douala. Go to any financial transaction institution here in Douala where you have some of them there. Sometimes they fall asleep. Sometimes when out of your goodwill you decide to offer them a beer, it means that from now on a serious note we should not offer any beer to any military man to uniform because we are finished. It means we are just giving them enough food to have energy, then get up and shoot us. And then the story goes that we were drunk or he was drunk. But what explains the fact that we are told that military should be our friend, because military is there to protect us. And then when we bring them closer to us to protect us and even feed some of them, we give them just enough energy to get up and shoot us. How do you see that? Does it not create an atmosphere of fear, distrust, discontentment between the military and the civilian population, which is supposed to give more information to the military? I fear.
All right, let's wrap up with this information concerning the modern sports amenity constructed in Senegal within a record time of
17 months.
17 months and so on. And then the amount far below the huge amount of money invested on our own Olembe Stadium, which is yet to be completed.
Well, Babila, just a quick one, because I know we shall really come back to this topic fully. It is to tell you that Cameroon has some peculiarities that other parts of the world do not have. And I want to applaud Cote d'Ivoire because when I saw the ambiance, Macky Sall, he went down to the field himself. And back in Cameroon, our president will be absent. Olembe is some kilometers away from him. Scandal upon scandal. They have defecated all funds related to this. He has never mentioned a word. That is what we say, that at one point in time, when you are no longer able to do it, you give other people the chance so that they do it. We have seen it in Senegal. And we know the financial scandals that surrounded Olembe. Like I read today, the nation is in suspense as Mr. Biya delays the files, hot files on his table. And I was asking myself, which file did he ever fasten it? So it is just to remind Cameroonians again that we have money, but the money has been given to the few privileged criminals who think that they are leading Cameroon, of which they are leading Cameroon to the gutters.
You cannot be referring to senior state officials as criminals.
No, you know, who is a criminal? If you are able to take money that was destined for a stadium and you embezzle it, I'm not the one saying it. There was what they call in French chambre de compte. They came out with some preliminary investigations, meaning that money has been swindled. If a governor, a minister does the right thing, he cannot be a criminal. We know some of them who have been trying to do something, even if it is not up to expectation. But those who steal our money destined to construct Cameroon, are criminals. There is no other description or adjective to them than this one.
Thank you for your time, sir.
It's always a pleasure. We need to make sure that Cameroon goes ahead. And for Cameroon to go ahead, the habits of stealing, embezzlement, corruption must be put aside.
Activist and teacher speaking there, and that's it for this edition of the news. Stay with us.